Hello, comrades. The honey badger here. Have you ever had problems with water? Like trying to understand why your newly connected pipe doesn't pump water? Do you just hate it when you don't have a junction to connect to your newly built water pipe? What about importing chemicals? Is it something that drags your republic into debt? Were you placing your water facility in your industrial area, thinking it's an industry after all, and it might cause pollution? Are you also accidentally pulling your precious clean water to satisfy the needs of the fabric factory? Well, fear not. In today's guide, you're going to master everything related to water and sewage. Let's fill and flush the topics firstly. What consumes water? What water quality means? Using water and sewage without piping? What water sources you have access to and how to increase its quality? Water pipes, elevation and water pumps. Water towers, how do they help? Build order, why is it important? And how to fix your water problems when they appear. Let's start off with our first topic, what consumes water? In short, everywhere you have citizens working, it will consume some degree of water, depending on the number of citizens you have in that building. For example, if you start off with buildings, you have the maximum daily water consumption. Over here, it states exactly how much water it will be consumed once everyone lives in said flat. Similarly, in any building that citizens go to relax, they also have the maximum water consumption per day. For example, the cinema has a 0.10 cubic meters per day. The same happens with industries. All of them will have a maximum daily water consumption. For example, this distillery has 2 cubic meters per day. That's for 100 workers. Also, it's not necessary to consume the full 2 cubic meters per day. If you watched my loyalty guide, you're gonna know that you can reduce the number of workers that are in a building. By reducing the number of workers, automatically you're reducing the maximum daily water consumption too. Now, unlike my hot water guide, where I've mentioned how many buildings a heating plant can handle, for water, since it's all over the place and extremely variable, I cannot do the same sadly. To add further complexity, some of the buildings in the industrial area use variable quality of water. We're gonna see exactly why that matters a little bit in the future. But for example, the fabric factory has a daily consumption of 2 cubic meters per day, and also in its inputs it needs 11 cubic meters of water at maximum production to produce the fabric. Be very careful, the water in here is required to be 85% quality. We're gonna figure it out how to do the quality thing later. Also, while we're on this topic about water quality, let's discuss about sewage. Sewage is completely identical to water. If you're consuming 100 cubic meters of water, you're outputting 100 cubic meters of sewage. Therefore, whenever I'm discussing about water, it fully applies to sewage too, and also make sure in your builds to match exactly the number of water substations you have with the number of sewage tanks you have. Let's now move on and discuss what water quality means. Water quality is very important for your citizens. If they get water with a quality lower than 96%, for example, at the moment I forced my water treatment plants to be at 95%, inside the building you are going to see a warning, drinking water is of poor quality, and their health will start to drop considerably fast, and you are going to have all of your hospitals overfilled with sick people. If the water quality, however, is between 97 and 98%, a flat health debuff will be placed on them. They will not complain about it, but they won't be at 100% health either. If the water quality is at 99%, their health can also get to 100% with no issues, taking into consideration that you don't have other pollution sources or drinking alcohol problems like I have over here. Now, be careful. There are some industries, like the fabric factory, that consumes 11 cubic meters of water, but its required water quality, it needs to be a minimum of 85%. There's absolutely no reason for you to connect your 99% water that is reserved for your citizens, that is purified using expensive chemicals, when instead you can pull directly the water that I have over here at 92%, I can pull it directly into the fabric factory with the condition that this water will never drop below 85%. As we can see, the water quality over here is 92%. Therefore, over here, I can delete this pipe and instead connect it directly to the water source that comes as 92-93%. Moving on to the next topic. Whenever you're starting off a new playthrough, you don't need to rush water utilities from the get-go, as that can be slightly costly if you don't have an income of cash. You can slightly delay this for quite a time. The way to do this is via the technical offices. Firstly, let's see the setup. We have over here a town, quite a large one. It should be able to hold 2,000 people without any problems. And let's create some of the necessary water-related things, like the water substation. We're gonna place one here. And then a sewage tank. Perfect. These two, at the moment, are not connected to any type of pipes. Now, let's build a technical services office. And let's buy 2 sewage cisterns and 2 water cisterns. Here we go. Now, let's also set up the place from where they get the water and deliver the sewage. And as you can see, already one of our vehicles went to grab the water. And they're gonna deliver the water to the necessary area. As you noticed, one water cistern decided to deliver to the water substation itself, whilst the other one decided to deliver to this house. Most likely, yes, this house does not have a water connection. You see, if we're going to go here, that one is not covered. That's perfectly fine, as your city will rely on more than one water substation. As you can see right now, although this one is getting emptied, the second cistern does not start. That's because each cistern is assigned to only one specific building, so only one water substation can be serviced at a time by a vehicle. 2 vehicles will never deliver to the same exact water substation in parallel. So let's build another set of water substations and a sewage tank. Now what you're going to notice is that both of the cisterns will start working. Here we go. The second one also started. Now, as an added bonus for the early game, this type of water delivery is called unpressurized water. This reduces the total water consumption by your citizens by 20 times. This sort of makes sense. You use less water flushing your duty down the drain with a 1 liter bottle from your friendly Lenin, rather than using the 10-liter water tank from your toilet. Now, this type of tactic will not get you that far, as depending on how far your city is from the border, you can barely keep up with 2,000 citizens before you will have problems. Not to mention the gas prices involved for your cisterns to constantly run. Let's simulate a bit what happens when we have 2,000 citizens. As you can see, that's quite a lot of people. I already have 1,700. And if we're going to look at the water tanks and at their complaints, we're gonna notice that they are working perfectly fine. Here we go, both water substations, let's view them. Both of them constantly have water and are connected to your buildings. So you can sustain quite a lot of population only having water from the border itself. You don't need to build your water network until you reach somewhere between 1,200 to 1,500 citizens. And I'm referring over here in realistic mode, as building the entire network might be done by the time you're having 2,000 citizens in your republic. Now, before we continue onwards, let's discuss about the water sources that you have access to. In total, there are 3 water sources. You got the small water well, which produces 70 cubic meters of water per day. You got the big water well, which produces 215 cubic meters of water, but it needs 7 people. And you got the surface water intake, which has a static water quality of 78%, and it produces 150 cubic meters of water. To be honest, I've never used the big water well because it needs 7 people to operate it. However, I've always used the small water well because the water quality ranges from the maximum at 95% and it goes down upwards to 70-76% or so. The surface water intake, I've never used it because the water quality from the start is very low. We're talking about 78%. Well, I've been throwing a lot of numbers, but I've never explained why they are important. Let's discuss about the water treatment plant next. The water treatment plant, be it small or big, uses chemicals in order to purify your water. You're going to notice that it has a maximum production per workday and a maximum amount of toxic liquids to be eliminated. This means that per day you can only eliminate 30 cubic meters of wastewater. How is the wastewater calculated? Well, you take the percentage of the water you are interested in. For example, on the small water well, it's 95%. Let's build one really fast over here. And also a small water plant. There we go. I'll go into water pumping later down the line. For now, I'm just doing for the example's sake. Here we go. So now the water tank gets 94% in total. As you can see, the quality dropped by 1%. This is because I've added buildings around my stuff. Normal buildings like these will drop the water quality upwards to 80%. So if we try to put a water well in the middle over here, let's see if I find, here we go. We are already at 84%. If I could have placed it even more in the middle, it would have dropped to 80%. Similarly, if I have an industry around, the water quality can drop upwards to 70%, almost being worse than the surface water intake. So what I recommend is always to place your small water wells as far away from population as possible, but not to the point where you need to get kilometers of piping to do. In my case, I think somewhere around 400 meters should be pretty fine. Make sure that in this 400-meter area, you're not building anything, and also you don't have industry around it. So let's return a bit to the water treatment plant and explain a bit how it works. The way how it works is you select the desired water quality. At the moment it's 99%. This will assure that all our citizens will have all of the water they need to stay healthy at a good percentage. From here you can lower or raise the quality of the water. Now let's take a look at how it works. Basically, I have 94% quality of the water, and I want to raise it at 99%. If you're noticing, the maximum flow of processed water is 120. The maximum amount of toxics to be eliminated is 13. This is a rounding error over here, that's how programming works. But basically, you can eliminate a maximum of 10% bad water from your purified water. That means that if I'm taking 94% and trying to upgrade it to 99%, it means that I'm going to use only half of these chemicals, around 0.12 chemicals per day. Now, if I would feed bad water directly from the river with 77 quality, that means that I'm trying to eliminate 22% of its water in order to have the desired water quality. That means that my water plant uses double the chemicals, so 0.50 tons of chemicals per day, and also instead of being able to purify 120 cubic meters, it will be able to only purify roughly 60 cubic meters of water. We can see this over here. At the moment, the production is at maximum, but the water tank barely fills up. One last thing about the water treatment before we move on to the next topic is that the water treatment plant itself is not considered an industry and it doesn't produce any pollution. That means it's perfectly safe to put it near your city. There's absolutely no reason for you to try to place it outside near the industry and then build a ton of piping. Speaking about pipes, let's see. There are in total 3 water pipes. You got the small, medium, and big. I've always played with the big and the small one. Now, how do you make sure that your water is flowing through your pipes? Well, the first scenario is to build a water well up a mountain. Then, once you have your water treatment plant down the mountain, if you're going to connect it with a pipe, this water gets automatically transferred. That's because the height is huge, the height difference. We have 20 meters at the bottom, and up the mountain we have 163 meters. The maximum pressure that you're gonna see in bars, it's 5.30. The maximum flow is dependent on the pipe type. If it's small, it's 26. This can be stretched to 30 in some situations. Then 56 stretched to 65. And then 127 stretched to 150 cubic meters per day in some situations. Talking about the pressure, over here we can see it's 5.30. That's the maximum amount of pressure you can have through a pipe. Whenever the pressure is 5.30 or above, the maximum water flow will be available. If the pressure is lower or negative, let's check a negative scenario over here, minus 184 cubic meters, it means that the water cannot flow. This is because the small water well connection is already several meters below ground. The connection to the water treatment plant is a bit higher than that. As you can see, it's close to the surface over here. You can even see the pipe poking. Therefore, the pressure is negative in here and water will not flow. Apart from mountains, you can also flow water through water pumping stations. You got two of them. A small one that has a flow limit of 50 cubic meters and sets your water pressure to 2 bar. And then you got the big pumping station that has a flow limit of 150 cubic meters and sets your water pressure to 6 bars. You're gonna ask yourself, why is it important about the bars? Well, let's just build a huge tower uphill over here and reverse the way. You are going to build a small water well over here. If we are going to connect this pipe we're going to notice that the pressure is in negative. There's 0 bars that pushes upwards. If we're going to delete the pipe and instead put a small water pump, the pressure is at 1.90. The pressure dropped from 2 because the tower is uphill. If it was on the level itself, in this case the pressure grew a bit. It's still not 2.0 because it goes uphill. Whilst we are discussing water towers help both in being a means of storage to pump your water and also means of supplying the water pressure. Due to their height, they will actually pump water due to gravity. The more water inside, the more it pushes. There's also a maximum that you can push out, namely around 3.4 to 3.9 bars depending on the height elevation. However, for pushing water inside, you're going to need one of the big water pumping stations. You can also use the small one, but it's more efficient to have an input equal to the output that you're having. Currently, these are not equal. Therefore, what I recommend is to actually build another water pump outside the water tower. Now, with the big water pump built, you're gonna see that its input is 5.30 and its output is 5.30 bars. And you're having the maximum big pipe pressure per day. Also, it changes in the big water tower to 5.30, although the max flow, the flow at max pressure says 78, you're not going to have absolutely no problem filling up a big pipe. To be frank, I have been building water towers for a very long time, not with the idea to increase my pressure or to skip a big water pumping station, but with the idea of having water whenever my workers are not at the factory. Maybe for whatever reason, the water treatment plant either has its garbage full or there are no workers over there or stuff like that. I want to make sure that I have enough water for my citizens. Therefore, only use the towers as a storage means. Never use it as a way of adding pressure to your pipes. Now, if you remember, I said sewage and water are identical. If you consume 100 cubic meters of water, you're going to produce 100 cubic meters of sewage. Therefore, if you're switching from unpressurized water that is delivered by the cisterns to pressurized water that comes from your water treatment plant, in case you are foolish enough to start with the water piping firstly, you're going to overload your sewage with 20 times more sewage than normal. This will completely cripple your poor two sewage tanks. For example, at the moment, we can see that the sewage is filling very slowly at 2 times the speed. Now, let's build up the water pipes and see what happens to the sewage. Here we go. We already see that the sewage doesn't have any chance. So let's delete the pipes. Make sure that the trucks will get the sewage. And again, notice how slow now it goes up. And let's build our sewage system. What I like to do is to find a small lake or big lake, whatever, close to the border, preferably to pollute the other countries, not my republic, and place down one of the sewage discharge facilities. In case I don't have any type of body of water, you can cheese a bit the game by going into terrain tools, lower the terrain, and simply make somewhere around here a huge puddle. This should be enough to cover your sewage needs. Just plunk down a sewage discharge. And now what I like to do is nearby my city, build up a sewage switch. Make sure that it points in the right direction. It comes from the town and it goes outside the town. If you're going to point it this way, you're gonna have a very bad time because you're not importing sewage, you're exporting it. Now with this down, we can actually start connecting our sewage. Usually I prefer in town to use the opposite pipe that I have used for water. So for water, when I connected these two water stations, I was using a small pipe. Therefore, I'm gonna use a small pipe for sewage. Make sure that it actually works. It's a bit finicky to build it. Always build it from the input to the output. In case you're getting this error requires proper slope, you can try to cheese the game a bit. Just like this, basically start building from output a bit to the input and then it will work. And afterwards, I'm gonna use a big sewage pipe because I used a large water pipe to pipe my water in the city. And then go to my sewage discharge. Perfect. With the sewage taken care, now I can actually connect the water. So I'm gonna use a big water pipe as input in the pump. Then with a big water pipe, again, I'll put it in the switch. And from the switch, I'll use small water pipes and connect my water substations. Now you might be wondering, why am I using small water pipes instead of medium or large water pipes? Well, this is just a personal preference. Usually I like to build a lot of water substations just to make sure that all of the buildings are covered and they are equally covered. Basically, by having 3 small pipes from a big one, it makes sure that always the water pressure is, the water flow is enough to cover all 3 of them. If I'm noticing any problems, I would build the 4th one, with a new pipe starting from the water treatment plant, and then putting it through another pump and then another switch, and then connecting it to my fourth one. These small pipes also has the advantage that they are cheaper to build than the big pipes or medium pipes. Also, if you're gonna build a medium pipe, you're going to have an imbalance in your system, because the sum of 3 medium pipes is 168-ish cubic meters per day, but your big water pipe only handles 127 to 130. That means that you're gonna have a discrepancy, and sometimes citizens will complain that they won't have water, sometimes they won't complain that they have water. Using small pipes, it completely eliminates this. Now, let's say that you have a city and you noticed that you have some problems with your water. For example, it's not full. How do you fix this? Firstly, start up with your water substation. Check its stats. See the amount of water it has currently. As we can see over here, it's not filled to 100%, rather it's filled somewhere to 20%. That means that we don't have enough water being pumped into this water substation. Next, what I like to do is check the amount of bars we have. Is it the maximum I'm expecting? For example, in my case, it comes from a switch that has a big water pipe incoming. That means that the maximum pressure should be 5.3. However, in my case, the maximum pressure is 1.1. Here's the problem that I'm having. So, with that out of the way, let's check down the line a bit. We have this line that goes over here to this switch. This switch also has a maximum pressure of 1.9, and we see the switch always being full. This is quite interesting. Why is it having a 1.9? Well, the problem is that the input of the switch is a small pipe. Therefore, what I'm gonna do is to delete this pipe and build a big pipe. Now the input is 5.3. I'm noticing that the switch itself doesn't contain any water. Therefore, it means that it's still pumping way too much water. It might take some time for the water to stabilize, so I'm gonna check manually all of my substations. It looks like this one is full now, and theoretically the switch should also be full. Here we go. Now the switch is also full. If you're going to notice that the switch is not full yet, that means that one big pipe is not sufficient for your republic. Either, as I have in here, kill this pipe and replace it with another pipe, or start adding another big pipe through here and add another substation somewhere around here and start giving it water. Now you might be thinking, you're playing in realistic mode, you have either a water or a sewage problem. How you're going to fix this? The answer is pretty simple. That's why you have the technical services with a sewage truck and a water truck. Now what you're gonna do if you're having a problem is to go to one of your water substations and just delete a little bit of pipe over here. What this will do is disconnect half of your city from the pressurized water. Now these guys won't have any type of pressurized water. Just for the example's sake, we have the overlays over here, which from my point of view, it never helped me debug water issues. But if we check the water pressure, we can see now that we have buildings with 0 bar. We have these two. We relieved some pressure from our city, and now it's perfectly fine for us to do all of the shenanigans we have and we want, because this water truck will start filling up the water once it reaches the empty point. As you can see, it already started over here. After we fix whatever we wanted to fix, like adding a new substation, piping, etc., we can then simply quickly rebuild the pipe that we had over here. Here we go. And now we can continue using our city after we fix the problem. Now it's time for you to fix my problem. Please do like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Each comment that you're making, make sure that my tutorials are spread to other people that need it. Until next time, I'm the Honey Badger and I'm out.